Welcome to episode 5. We have the cable glands in and the J2 turret operating. So follow along and see how we did it. We start by finishing off the work from episode 4, where we installed the stepper motor drivers into the J1 base enclosure. Before we do any wiring, we need to install these PG21 cable glands into the J1 base enclosure, which we do by pushing them in right next to the J1 motor. We can then tighten up the washer on the inside without removing any of the stepper motor drivers, and this gives us a cleaner way of getting the wires into the J1 base enclosure. We now move on to the mounting of the main robotic arm, the joint to arm, following the instructions in pages 104 to 107 of the AR4 build manual. We have the J2 spindle here, which was put in the freezer to cool it down and make it easier to slip into this mounting position. Holding the arm so that the spindle's mounting hole side is facing upward, the spindle is towards you and the J3 joint is away from you, we want to make sure that these J3 limit switches, which I'm pointing out here, on the right-hand side of the arm, as seen by you. Making sure that this mounting pattern is correct is very important. Otherwise, you have to take the arm apart in future. Ensuring that we have the right orientation, we will now use 8 M4x10 flathead screws to attach the J2 spindle to the J2 arm. We need to make sure that the spindle is firstly on the correct side of the arm, as we just did before, but also make sure that the keyway within the J2 spindle points towards the J3 end of the arm. Having installed the J2 spindle, we can now turn it over and prepare to install these 30206 bearing races through the spindle and into the J2 turret. So as shown here, it's the 30206 bearing, a part of the AR4 mechanical kit. And once again, this spindle was put into the freezer, making it a little bit colder so that the bearing can easily slide over the top. Otherwise, it's a slight press fit. With the bearing race in place, we now install the M3x10 set screw that we partially thread in so it's not interfering with the keyway, which will be used in future to clamp down onto the motor key. With the base of the robot arm orientated away from you, such that the J2 turret is away from your body, you can install the J2 arm into the left-hand side of the J2 turret. Earlier, we had already installed the J2 bearing races, outer rings, into the J2 turret, so those are in place against the conical 30206 inner bearing races. We install the second bearing race here into the right-hand side of the J2 turret. And it will press in place like this. Moving the arm around a little bit for the camera, we can now install the J2 tension ring, like so that the keyway is lined up with the keyway of the J2 spindle before mounting it with the screws. The screws that we're using for this are the M6x10 flathead screws, and we're making sure that the tension ring is 90 degrees to the direction of the arm. So aligned with that keyway, which should be 90 degrees to the direction of the arm as a good cross-check. With joint 2 now easily rotating, we add the 3D printed J2 end stop, which I've 3D printed out of PETG carbon fiber, and it snaps over the top of the 5 bolt heads on top of the J1 turret. Now mounted, the J2 end stop limits the movement of the J2 via the tension ring so that the arm cannot collapse backwards. Now we have the J2 tension ring installed, the J2 end stop limiting the movement of the arm. The next step is to install 4 M4x5 set screws to hold the bearings inside away from the tension ring and press the whole assembly together. So we're installing these 4 M4x5 set screws and just tightening them up and making sure that there is a equal gap either side of the J2 turret with the arm installed. That's all for episode 5. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in the next episode.